Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel. It's Cynicalex, and today I want to discuss characters to avoid choosing from either tier 2 selectors, 6-star biometric selectors, or the super rare premium 6-star character selectors for new players. So I understand this video doesn't have too much value at the moment for veterans, but I do want to start off by saying and giving a big round of applause and saying thank you to everybody, so newbies, vets, free-to-play, whales, everybody, for all the love and all the likes and all the support on the last 3 gambling videos for Mr. Fantastic. Now, unfortunately, we did not hit the goal that I was looking for in the time frame that I was looking for, which is 24 hours, but I still have a surprise for you guys in a later video regarding that entire kind of circus, so look forward to that. But for now, let's jump into this list. Now, this is not meant to be an exhaustive list, but it is meant to point out characters that you can either get very easily through other means than actually using up items in your inbox, and also characters that are just bad until they get to a certain point in the game. So I don't actually have the items that I'm discussing because they don't come around that often, but I do suspect with endgame close around the corner, we will be seeing tier 2 selectors again. We saw them for Infinity War as part of a monthly login event. It was like a 6-week login event where we got tier 2 selectors for different characters, or just generic biometric tier 2 selectors. And if you're wondering what it looks like, it looks exactly the same as this, except when you hit select on the character, you automatically get them at tier 2, and if you already have them at tier 2, you get 256 biometrics. So tier 2 selector characters to avoid. It's a short list, but basically it's all of the legendary battle characters that you can get for free at 6 stars. So again, if you're a veteran, if you're a longtime player, you would have either already had these characters through traditional farming way before the legendary battles came out, or you would have gotten them from the legendary battles themselves. But I'm talking about 6-star Thor, 6-star Black Panther, 6-star Spider-Man, although he's not listed here, 6-star Ant-Man, and 6-star Captain Marvel. When you boot up these legendary battles for the first time, if you don't have those characters unlocked, they will give you a free 6-star version. So that basically wastes more than half of the biometrics used for the tier 2 selector. Now, of course, like any character on this list, if you absolutely have to have a tier 2 Black Panther or a tier 2 Captain Marvel and you cannot wait, go ahead, man, use the tier 2 selector. I'm not trying to dissuade you. I'm just saying for the absolute most efficient route possible, you will be better off choosing a different character and saving that tier 2 selector for someone else, and just getting a 6-star version of these characters and then building up their biometrics through other means, because frankly all of the legendary battle characters are very easy to farm at the moment. Additionally, I'm wondering for the legendary battle, presuming we get a legendary battle for endgame, who is the 6-star character going to be? My guess is Captain America and Iron Man, but I'm curious how you guys see it and who you see being the free 6-star character from the endgame legendary battle. The next one I want to touch on is Premium 6-star Selector. Now, if you guys don't know, it's basically the same thing as a biometric tier 2 selector, except it's 6-star. So it's the same thing as a 6-star biometric selector, and instead of being this green color, it's kind of a goldish yellow, and it is for paywall characters. And so all new accounts get one 6-star premium selector as part of a kind of new player login event, so they can select a 6-star version of any of these following characters. Now, I'm going to tell you which ones you should straight up avoid. Now, some of them are actually decent enough at tier 1. I would say Luna Snow is an amazing option at tier 1. Same thing with, Hyperion's pretty good. Victorious is pretty good, although you can get her through other means. Even Ghost Panther is pretty good despite his tier 2 passive. But the one at tier 1 that you absolutely want to avoid, especially if you're not going to get another biometrics subscription, is Valkyrie. Valkyrie is just so bad at tier 1 that it's useless to get her. You really only want her at tier 2 for the support. It's kind of like Coulson, except Coulson is way easier to get than Valkyrie. So if you really have no intention of spending money on the game, or you really have no intention of through any means possible, whether it's like Google Rewards or any kind of shit like that, asking your auntie for a Google Play card or an iTunes gift store card for Christmas, if there's no way you'd be ever tier 2ing Valkyrie, just dodge that shit, because she's absolutely horrible. But even if you are going to tier 2 a paywall character, I would say until they get a rework, until they get level 70, until they get a uniform, I would not even recommend picking Enchantress or Carnage. I wouldn't recommend picking Ironheart. I wouldn't recommend picking Kid Kaiju. I wouldn't recommend picking Quasar. I wouldn't recommend picking Killmonger. And I wouldn't recommend picking Nadia Van Dyne or Crescent from the premium 6-star selector. Now, I know that's a pretty long list of characters. Now, most of those characters that I've mentioned do have some value in the game. They can do Shadowland stages in the 40s and 50s. Possibly 60s if you build them up. And yes, Crescent does have level 70, but she's very, very weak in the level 70 department. But these characters are just not very good for the amount that you're investing in them. There's probably some of the worst characters in the game based solely on effort and the amount of money it costs to invest into them. We're talking like Ultimates level requirement of investment with, you know, a fraction of the payoff in terms of what they can actually do in the game. So keep an eye on these characters for buffs and reworks in the future. Hyperion got a decent buff to his base kit in addition to a uniform, but we still honestly wanted more. So hopefully these other characters will get that, and sooner rather than later, because it's kind of brutal to see these paywall characters who I paid real money for and they're complete trash. The last list is Biometric 6-star collector characters, or selector characters, excuse me. So again, these are just regular Biometric selector characters that you would get at 6 stars. So it wouldn't be tier 2 and it wouldn't be premium characters. The list for this one, again, is not exhaustive, but it's characters that are just really bad at tier 1 and they don't get good until tier 2. And even at tier 2, they're not that great, or they just take a lot of resources away from you. So if you're not planning to tier 2 them soon, you should probably either hold the 6-star selector for later or use it on a different character. So the first example is characters that are like Black Bolt and Elsa Bloodstone. So these are basically characters that are quite bad at tier 1, and their only saving grace, the only thing that makes them usable, is their tier 2 passive, which gives them immunity. So when he uses Quasi-Sonic Scream, which is his 5th skill, at tier 2, he gets 5 seconds of immunity. But you don't get any of these effects unless he uses his 5th skill at tier 2. It's a really stupid way of designing a character. Netmarble stopped doing this after they realized how dumb it was, but it basically means that if you have a tier 1 Black Bolt, you have a pile of garbage. If you have a tier 2 Black Bolt, you have, like, you know, a decent pile of old toys. It's not very good, but it's actually usable, whereas garbage is not. Same thing goes for Elsa. She only gets these buffs when she uses Force of Bloodstone, her 5th skill, at tier 2. So it's really, really dumb. It's a way of designing characters that I'm glad Netmarble completely avoided and moved on from, but it is something that you should try to avoid. I mentioned Scourge here as well because he has the same mechanic as Elsa and Black Bolt, although unlike those characters, he's a much rarer type. He's a combat villain, and he has some better use than they do because he has self buffs in addition to a guard hit at tier 1. So I think Scourge is a little bit better than these characters because he doesn't get the entirety of his value from his tier 2 passive affecting one skill, Last Stand. He does get a lot of it, it's like 60%, but he's still like a 40% decent character, so he's not quite a pile of garbage. Additionally, I would say straight up avoid Sister Grimm and Singularity for the 6-star selector. I know they're super rare characters that you can't get too easily because you can only get them in the Chaos Shop, and Chaos tokens are quite hard to farm for. But the problem with both Singularity and Sister Grimm is that they're just terrible. Even at tier 2, they're quite bad, and then at tier 1, they're even worse. And Sister Grimm has that same problem where she only gets buffs when she uses Rock and Roll, her 5th skill, so she gets a heal, she gets, you know, buffs to her damage, but because those are tied to that skill, it's really not good. Honestly, at best, they're like Alliance Conquest or low-level Shadowland characters, like 30 to 40 at most. So they're really just not worth it given their difficulty to get. And if you are going to get them to 6 stars with that selector and then try to tier 2 them, you're wasting all these, you know, weeks of grinding the Villain Siege Shadowland or Villain Siege Chaos tokens when you could be spending them on custom gear chest rolls, or, you know, even character rolls for random biometrics. There's so many things you could do, so many better things you could do with those chaos tokens than getting Singularity and Sister Grimm built up. Finally, I want to mention some of the buff characters. Coulson is one that I do want to mention in addition to White Fox. This one's kind of interesting. Coulson is a very good buff character, and he's super easy to get, but if you're not going to tier 2 him anytime soon, using a 6-star selector on him is really a bad idea, because he's honestly one of the worst, if not the worst character in the game solo. He can't even do stage 1 of Shadowland. He's that bad, especially at tier 1. He's a nightmare. He's literally a useless character at tier 1. He has 0 uses in the game. He doesn't have a leadership. He doesn't have a passive. He literally doesn't have anything to offer at tier 1 except, I guess, team up bonuses. I guess he could give you like a crit max HP bonus with Captain America, but it's seriously sad how criminally bad he is at tier 1. So unless you plan to tier 2 him ASAP, maybe consider a different character. White Fox is a little bit different because you have to play for a full month. You have to use 750 crystals, but you're probably not going to get her to tier 2 with just 750 crystals unless you also have a mega rank up ticket, you also have a tier 2 ticket, and you get kind of lucky with her gears. You may need to do it again. So again, if you're only going to invest 750 crystals, you're never going to play the heroic battle again, but you expect to get a tier 2 White Fox out of it, maybe temper back your expectations, maybe be careful, or maybe just don't select White Fox in that case. She's a great character to tier 2, don't get me wrong, but it's just about whether you're going to be able to invest 2 months of the heroic quest and basically 1,500 crystals in order to get her to tier 2, because it's really at tier 2 where she shines, where she gets the Komiho stance, where she's able to buff your characters up to kind of really high levels. She's okay at tier 1. She's definitely way better than Phil Coulson, and even way better than, you know, Elsa Bloodstone tier 1, Black Bolt tier 1, a lot of these other tier 1 characters that I've mentioned. But it's really at tier 2 that you're going to get the full value. So hopefully this has been helpful. I do this knowing that, you know, new players are constantly seeing those 6-star selectors, those premium 6-star selectors, and those tier 2 selectors. So hopefully this can help you avoid some of those mistakes, because honestly, you go into some of the busier channels and you see people selecting, you know, recruiting characters like they're right there, 6-star Captain Marvel. What did you just do, Wolverine? Okay, see what I mean? And other characters in the same fashion, you know, successfully advancing or successfully recruiting characters like Venom, and just awful characters that are really not going to do any good for you at 6 stars. They need to be tier 2, or even if they're tier 2, they're just kind of doo-doo butter at this point. So let me know what you guys think of the list. Let me know who you would add to it. Subscribe if you enjoy the content and you want to support me. And of course, if you like what you see, I hope to see you again tomorrow. Take care.